Okay, what exactly does Andy Warhol have in common with Frank Lloyd Wright and the numerous artists whose installations comprise the Mattress Factory? Yes, the Andy Warhol Museum and the Mattress Factory are neighbors on Pittsburgh's north side. And yes, Frank Lloyd Wright did design Fallingwater for Edgar Kaufman, who ran a department store that sold consumer goods with popular brand names, which may or may not have helped to influence a young Warhol growing up in Pittsburgh. I know it's a stretch. But why does it make sense for the Warhol, Fallingwater, and the Mattress Factory to team up in a global marketing initiative? Well, here to answer that question are Eric Shiner, director of the Warhol, Lynda Waggoner, director of Fallingwater, and Michael Olijnyk, co-director of the Mattress Factory. And welcome. Good to have all three of you here.
Great to be here.
Okay, as I mentioned, on the face of this seems like a somewhat unlikely alliance. How did it come about?
Well, I think we were all sitting around thinking, how can we get even more people to come to our amazing institutions in this great city of Pittsburgh, and realize that we're all amazing and unique draws.
We are, yeah. We get people from all over the world, and we would love to share what else Pittsburgh has to offer with each other's audiences.
Did you find this is already happening to some degree?
We already have very similar audiences. Audiences that are coming from Europe, audiences that are coming across the United States. So they already know about us. So we wanted them to know about us, but then know about more things that are happening in the city, and have really an experience, not just coming to one place, but coming to a city.
Well, and as you mentioned, I mean, these three assets, attractions, really are big international draws for the region as well.
Absolutely, and Andy Warhol certainly and Frank Lloyd Wright are known all over the world, and people, as though they're on a pilgrimage, come here very specifically to see the museum or the house.
Yeah. And we hope that Fallingwater will soon be a World Heritage Site, which will attract even more people.
Right, there's not too many of them anywhere, especially around here. What is it about the Mattress Factory, though, that's kind of put it on the global map?
I think all three of these organizations were started with unique visions. You know, there was an idea that wasn't there before someone did it. And that's what makes it truly kind of an institution that's here in the city of Pittsburgh. You're not going to find it anywhere else. And when you go there, when you see something, it's a memory that you take with you that you aren't going to see anywhere else. I was just saying earlier in the green room, standing in the bedroom of Edgar Kaufman's house, seeing that bed that he slept in, I mean, that's such a cool experience. See how narrow it is, and then going down that hallway where your head almost touches. I mean, you're really experiencing someone else's life.
Well, that's really what Andy Warhol's time capsules, right? All those cardboard boxes.
Absolutely, 612 of them that hold a lot of the keys to Warhol's secrets. Absolutely.
So how is this going to work? There's a website supporting this joint effort?
There is, and the website is pghtrip.org. So PGH for Pittsburgh, of course, and it lists all of the four organizations, but it also tells you how to get there. So we have three different modes of transportation, either by car, by plane, or by public transportation. But it also recommends hotels, restaurants, other things that people can do while they're here.
So, Lynda, do you find when people come to Fallingwater, it's what, about 80 miles southeast of Pittsburgh?
60.
Is it 60? Okay. Do people automatically know that Pittsburgh's basically a little over an hour away?
Not always. They don't. It depends on where they're coming from. A lot of our audience comes from Washington, D.C., and we want them to realize that we're part of Pittsburgh. We're in Pittsburgh's backyard. And I think that when people discover Pittsburgh, invariably you hear, I had no idea how cool a city Pittsburgh is. So I think it's a good move.
And conversely, I would take it visitors to the Warhol or the Mattress Factory often, they probably know about Fallingwater but may not realize that it's not really that hard to get to from here.
Absolutely the case.
Yep.
And so it's more than just the museums and the attractions, though. You've got what? Places to stay, places to eat, the
restaurants.
It's really a mini tourism site or a trip site.
It is.
Yeah, the goal is to create a really wonderful experience for whomever follows the recommendations that we're going to be making for where to go, what to see while they're here.
And we're also very careful to make sure that it was on various economic levels as well, for the budget traveler versus the traveler who might be a little bit more high-end.
And so you think the audience beyond, we mentioned the international piece, but just the kind of people who come to these three are all very similar when you look at your target markets?
In some ways, I think they're all people who care deeply about the arts, or at least an experience that's an extraordinary experience. We always recommend both the Mattress Factory and the Warhol because they are really unique. You're not going to run into anything quite like it, and Warhol and the Mattress Factory, James Turrell, I mean, wow.
Yeah,
what
spectacular
a
things.
spectacular
I mean, it just really-
experience that is for people, just like the experience of Fallingwater is, or the history of Warhol. When you start getting into all of that information, it's mind-boggling.
I mean, how many people are already coming to these 3 institutions in the course of a year? Do you know what your annual?
Oh, sure. We have 120,000 people a year at the Warhol Museum.
Okay.
160 at Fallingwater.
Okay.
75,000.
All right. So yeah, you start rolling it up. There's already a significant group, and yeah, you can get them to extend the stay a day and pick up the
Absolutely.
Fallingwater or vice versa. There's a real economic impact to this
There is.
too.
Indeed, there
It's
is.
huge. And this is a high-end traveler in many ways. I mean, the one that's traveling multiple days, far great expenditure level.
Okay, so you got the website up, so that's there. And any next steps? What's ahead? We only got a few seconds left.
Well, we really hope that the next step is to do regional marketing campaigns in New York, in DC, in Cleveland, and
Yeah.
get people to actually drive into Pittsburgh for the weekend.
All right, really exciting. URL again on the website?
Is pghtrip.org.
pghtrip.org. So check it out. The Warhol, the Mattress Factory, and Fallingwater. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Cool partnership. Yeah. And we'll be back in a minute with a little dollars and cents. Stay with us.